A Legacy of Darkness. Introducing Hereditary. Hereditary, my directorial debut, is not just a horror film, it's a deep dive into the human psyche, exploring the darkest corners of familial bonds and inherited trauma. It's a portrait of a family haunted. Haunted not just by external forces, but by their own inner demons and unresolved conflicts. Haunted by grief, by secrets, and by a sinister force beyond their comprehension. The film delves into the complexities of loss and the way it can unravel the very fabric of a family. The film stars Toni Collette as Annie Graham, a woman grappling with the recent death of her secretive mother, Ellen Lee. Her performance is a tour de force, capturing the raw emotion and psychological turmoil of a woman on the edge. From the opening scene, Hereditary establishes an atmosphere of dread. The house itself becomes a character, its dark corners and creaking floors adding to the sense of unease. The camera lingers on miniature dollhouses, each detail meticulously crafted, hinting at the meticulous control that governs the characters' lives. These dollhouses symbolize the fragile and controlled environment that the family tries to maintain. We are thrust into a world where the line between reality and nightmare is blurred. The film's dreamlike sequences and unsettling imagery keep the audience on edge, never quite sure what is real. The film is as much about the characters' internal struggles as it is about external threats. Their fears and anxieties are palpable, making the horror feel all the more real. It's a slow burn, a gradual descent into madness that will leave you questioning your own sanity. The pacing is deliberate, allowing the tension to build to an almost unbearable level. This deliberate pacing allows the tension to build, creating a sense of unbearable anticipation. Every creak, every shadow, every flicker of light adds to the mounting dread. Hereditary is not for the faint of heart. It's a film that challenges its audience, pushing the boundaries of psychological horror. It's a film that will stay with you long after the credits roll, its unsettling imagery and chilling themes seared into your memory. Hereditary is a haunting exploration of the darkness that lies within us all, a film that will leave you questioning the very nature of fear. The shadow of Ellen Lee grief and familial secrets. The death of Ellen Lee casts a long shadow over the Graham family. Annie, her daughter, is particularly affected. Their relationship was complex, marked by a troubled history that Annie is reluctant to confront. We see flashbacks of Annie's childhood hinting at a strained relationship with her mother. Annie's brother Peter, a typical teenager, seems less affected by Ellen's death, seeking solace in marijuana. Annie's husband, Steve, tries to hold the family together but is often out of his depth. Annie, an artist who works with miniatures, channels her grief and confusion into her art. Her creations become increasingly disturbing, mirroring the family's unraveling. She joins a support group, seeking solace and a way to process her emotions. As Annie delves deeper into her grief, she unearths unsettling details about her mother's past, revealing a legacy of mental illness and occult practices that threaten to consume the Graham family. Unraveling sanity, Annie and the weight of the past. Annie's mental state deteriorates as she grapples with her grief and the disturbing revelations about her mother. Her behavior becomes increasingly erratic, marked by outbursts of anger and paranoia. She alienates Steve, who struggles to understand her volatile behavior. At the support group, Annie meets Joan, a seemingly kind woman who introduces her to the world of the occult. Joan claims to be able to communicate with the dead, offering Annie a glimmer of hope that she can connect with her mother. Desperate for answers and a semblance of control, Annie embraces Joan's teachings. She participates in seances, attempting to contact Ellen's spirit. However, these attempts only serve to further unravel Annie's already fragile mental state. As Annie's grip on reality loosens, the line between the real and the supernatural becomes increasingly blurred, leaving both her family and the audience questioning what is truly happening. A tragedy unveiled. Charlie's demise and the descent into chaos. Just when the tension seems unbearable, tragedy strikes again, leaving the family in a state of utter despair. Charlie, Annie's peculiar but endearing daughter, dies in a horrific car accident, a moment that shatters the family's already fragile sense of normalcy. The family is devastated, and Annie's already fragile mental state shatters completely. Her grief is palpable, a raw wound that refuses to heal. Peter, racked with guilt over his role in Charlie's death, retreats further into himself, isolating from the world and his family. Annie's grief manifests as anger and blame, driving a wedge between her and both Peter and Steve. The household becomes a battleground of emotions. The once seemingly normal family unit crumbles under the weight of their shared trauma, each member lost in their own sorrow and pain. Annie becomes convinced that Charlie's death was not an accident, but rather a deliberate act orchestrated by malevolent forces. She delves deeper into the occult. She clings to the occult practices introduced by Joan, seeking answers and a way to bring Charlie back, hoping to find solace in the supernatural. The accident becomes a turning point in the film, marking a significant escalation in the supernatural occurrences that plague the Graham family. The house itself seems to come alive with dark energy. It is as if Charlie's death has opened a door to a dark and terrifying realm, a portal to a world where the boundaries between the living and the dead blur. Section 5. Whispers from the Shadows, the Occult, and Annie's Lineage. As Annie delves deeper into the occult, she uncovers a horrifying truth. Her mother's involvement in the supernatural was not a delusion but a terrifying reality. Ellen Lee was a devoted follower of Payman, a powerful demon seeking to inhabit a male host. Annie learns that she, Peter, and Charlie were not chosen randomly by Ellen, but specifically groomed to serve as vessels for Payman. This revelation shatters Annie's perception of her family and her own identity. The film gradually reveals clues to Ellen's true nature, hidden in plain sight throughout the first half. Photographs, journals, and seemingly innocuous objects take on a sinister meaning as the truth is revealed. The discovery of her family's dark history forces Annie to confront the terrifying possibility that she is not in control of her own actions, that she is merely a pawn in a much larger and more sinister game. Section 6. The walls close in, escalating horror and mental breakdown. The supernatural occurrences escalate, becoming increasingly disturbing and violent. The house creaks and groans, as if alive with unseen forces. Objects move on their own, and strange symbols appear on the walls. Annie's mental state continues to deteriorate, her behavior becoming increasingly erratic and dangerous. One particularly unsettling scene shows Annie levitating above her bed, her body contorting in unnatural ways. The special effects are used sparingly but effectively, enhancing the sense of dread and leaving a lasting impression on the viewer. Steve, initially skeptical of Annie's claims of the supernatural, is forced to confront the horrifying reality of their situation. He discovers evidence of Ellen's occult practices, confirming Annie's worst fears. The film masterfully builds a sense of claustrophobia, trapping the characters and the audience within the confines of the Graham home, a place that should be a sanctuary but has become a prison of fear and madness. Section 7. Payman's grip, possession, and the price of inheritance. The tension culminates in a terrifying climax as Payman makes his move. Joan is revealed to be a member of the occult group that Ellen belonged to, her role to ensure Payman's successful possession of Peter. Annie, desperate to save her son, attempts to warn him, but her warnings are dismissed as madness. Peter, increasingly withdrawn and plagued by visions, becomes a pawn in the demonic game. In a horrifying and unforgettable scene, Payman takes full possession of Peter, his body contorting in agony as the demonic entity takes hold. The special effects are both gruesome and mesmerizing, depicting the true horror of Payman's power. The film does not offer easy answers or comforting resolutions. Instead, it leaves the audience to grapple with the devastating consequences of inherited trauma and the horrifying power of ancient evils. Section 8. A Legacy of Terror. The enduring impact of Hereditary. Hereditary is more than just a horror film. It's a deeply unsettling experience that delves into the very fabric of familial relationships. It's a chilling exploration of grief, family secrets, and the insidious nature of inherited trauma. The film masterfully intertwines these themes, creating a narrative that is as thought-provoking as it is terrifying. It's a film that gets under your skin, staying with you long after the credits roll. The haunting imagery and the intense emotional weight of the story linger in the mind, making it impossible to forget. The film's impact on the horror genre is undeniable. It has set a new standard for what horror can achieve, blending psychological depth with visceral fear. Its slow burn tension, psychological complexity, and unflinching portrayal of human vulnerability have influenced a new generation of horror filmmakers. Directors and writers now strive to create horror that resonates on a deeper, more personal level. Hereditary proved that true horror lies not in jump scares, but in the exploration of the darkest corners of the human psyche. It's a film that challenges viewers to confront their own fears and anxieties. More importantly, the film sparked conversations about mental health, family dynamics, and the lasting impact of trauma. It opened up dialogues about how these issues are often intertwined and how they can shape our lives in profound ways. It forced audiences to confront uncomfortable truths about the darkness that can reside within families and the legacy we inherit from those who came before us. The film's portrayal of these themes is both unflinching and deeply moving. Hereditary is a film that demands to be seen, discussed, and dissected. Its layers of meaning and symbolism provide endless material for analysis and debate. It's a film that will stay with you, haunting your thoughts long after the screen has faded to black. Its impact is enduring, leaving a lasting impression on anyone who dares to watch it.